to the 158th episode of the Jami Dulaney Plant-Based Wellness Podcast. My name is Jami Dulaney, and I'm your host. I'm a plant-based cardiologist and endurance athlete living in Southwest Florida. Welcome, and thank you for listening. I was going to put this off till next week when I got back from Mendocino, but I'm so excited I want to talk to you tonight. So headed out tomorrow for the Mendocino 50K Ultra. Will be my first ultra marathon. Hello, Sid Garza Hillman. He's sponsoring it. He and Stanford in Health. It's going to be a vegan race. It's going to be great. It's going to be hills and mountains for this Flatlander, but I'm ready. I'm ready to see what I've got. So we'll see how it is. I'm going to use Huma for nutrition, which is a gel that contains chia seeds. Have a backpack. I'm going to carry my water. Otherwise, I'll do a bunk bar and a banana before the race. So I'm ready to rock and roll. And I hope it goes well. But it'll be an experience. It's going to be a beautiful race. The weather's supposed to be 40 to 60. Look at the Pacific. Look at redwoods. So I'm really excited. And can't wait to let you know what's going on there. I was traveling not too long ago, and as you all know, and what we didn't mention in the podcast was, I'm a huge people watcher when I travel, when I go to the grocery store, and see what people's eating. And in the past, travel was, in another life, was a license to eat junk food for me as well. And you see what people get into, and it's just kind of scary. But it doesn't have to be. But, I always tell my patients that Starbucks is a great place to get oatmeal. They have blueberries for the oatmeal. It's dried, but it works out fine. So that's always a great thing. And I was standing in line last time to get my oatmeal, and I saw my first sign that says, "Get your gravy on." And it's like, oh my, it's in Tampa Airport, get your gravy on. So you can get biscuits and gravy at Starbucks. Not a good sign. And then I looked across the hallway there as I'm standing in line, and I see this place called PDQ, People Dedicated to Quality, and their first item was biscuits and gravy. So West Virginia was way ahead of it when I was there. We've done biscuits and gravy for a long time and managed to ruin our health, and the rest of the world is just now catching on. It's kind of sad. But nevertheless, you can travel and get oatmeal. Just got to stay away from the biscuits and gravy. And just because it's greasy does not mean it's good. So when you're traveling, it is difficult. Look at the airport you're going to be located at and see what they've got to eat. Worst case scenario, if you missed a couple hours without eating, let your gut rest. That's not a bad thing either. I have some homemade granola I'm going to take with me tomorrow. I'll snack on that. Like I said, I'll probably get some oatmeal, and then we'll find great plant-based restaurants when we land in Sacramento. I think actually we might try to go to an Ethiopian restaurant when we get in. But anyway, nevertheless, there's a way to travel and eat healthy. And, I don't know if this new member listens, but I have to give a shout out to a very new member that this whole thing is really new to, and he managed to travel for work and eat a week plant-based, lost weight, and his hemoglobin or his glucoses have come down, and I cut his insulin every day while he was gone on his work training in a hotel. So, kudos to somebody that's just new at it, that's willing to stick to it, and cut the oil out of your diet. He ate fruit, and he ate vegetables and white rice, and so, did a really, really good job. So it's very possible to eat healthy and travel. You just have to be dedicated to the cause. And, I heard another podcast talking about, gaming. And, we all like games, whether it's board games when we were kids or, a game that we're playing as adults. People get into games of all kinds. But we see nutrition as being, some sort of penalty if it's good. If it's bad, then it's great, and we're sneaky and we're bad and we're living on the edge. But if it's good nutrition, that's not cool. And I think we need to change that up a little bit and make somewhat of a game out of it. I wrote a blog post. You can check my website out, Dr. Dulaney, compares plant-based nutrition, learning to eat that way is like learning to golf. I grew up as a golfer, not a runner. And golf is a lot like physics. You have to your swing, the way you stand, the way you swing, the angle of the club, the speed of the club head. There's a lot of how you hold your hands. There's so many things to learn, and it's a very difficult game to learn at first, besides the rules, just the movement of it, to be able to get that little white ball that was standing still to go where you want it. And plant-based nutrition is a lot like a game too. There's lots of rules and people that don't really know the rules are trying to tell you the rules. There's the vegan police. You can't have this, you can't have that. And you're not going to get enough of this, and you're not going to get enough of that. So everybody wants to chime in on the rules. Are you plant-based? Are you vegan? And so I like to make the rules clear to my members that this game, we're going to eat fruits and vegetables that look as close to what the fruit and vegetable looked like when it came out of the ground or off the tree. We want the grain as close as we can to when it was harvested, so we don't want too much done to process it and shine it up and mill it down. We don't want to mill it down to flour. And we don't want to put a goop on it that changes the taste of it. We actually want to taste it. We don't want to cover it in salt or fat or oil. And so that's really and we don't eat anything that comes from an animal. And eggs actually come from an animal called a chicken. And fish is an animal that swims in the waters. So we avoid all those things. And it's like avoiding the middleman. And so you can navigate this game pretty easily. And we keep score by how well you're doing. If you're a diabetic, we keep score by your glucoses. We know that if your glucose pops way up, that there's probably oil in your game that's tripped you up, like the game operation. The oil seeped in, you went to grab the piece and you hit the buzzer when you hit the oil. Too bad there's not a buzzer when you taste something with oil. We look at cholesterols. Had a patient in today, and they said, well, we've been vegan forever, but we've not been plant-based for the last 3 months. And so they got into these ice cream, the So Delicious and the Ben & Jerry, and they're non-dairy ice creams. And it's like, well, it's vegan, but it's certainly not healthy. It's full of sugar and full of fat. Same way with Beyond Burgers and Possible Burgers and all these other things that are out there that taste just like the animal version, but they also come with all the harmful effects of the animal version. So that's against the rules, and we're going to see that's going to negatively affect your score, whether it's cholesterol or it's your glucose. And so instead of it being, okay, this is a penalty and I can't do anything I like, it's like, well, so how do you achieve the ultimate, how do you win at the game of being plant-based? And you win by being healthy, by, getting your body mass index down into that normal range of 18 to 24, maybe less for women, because we know that women have a lot more fat mass. To get your cholesterol, which is, may very well be a marker of disease, but we want to get that cholesterol down. We know it goes up when you eat a high-fat, high ice cream, high Beyond Meat burger diet, and it goes down when you eat fruits and vegetables. And getting the diabetes and the hemoglobin A1C and the glucose, it goes down when you're not in the oil. And it goes down when you're eating a lot of fiber and a lot of vegetables. So that's how we advance the ball. I have same patient that is doing so great, traveling and eating. He was a baseball player, and we talk about him getting off the insulin is like him getting to the World Series. So he's made a game out of getting this insulin. His glucoses were 300 a few weeks ago when we started, and now he's dipping below 100, and we're backing off, and we're down into single-digit units of insulin, up from about 25 twice a day. Now we're down to 6 at night in just a few short weeks because he's taken the oil out of his diet. And that's what we do. Patients call me, they text me at night, or they text me in the morning with their night glucose and the morning glucose, and we adjust their insulin and bring it down. And I know for sure what's going on with patients when it's not working, because it works with everybody. It's, I'm only working with humans. And it seems to, it's across the board. It's really easy to get the insulin off of people, and it's really easy to get the glucose down when they're eating correctly. sometimes people have asked me, well, it's like, well, when can I go back to like liberalizing this and making it, not quite so strict? And it's like, well, strict is how you define it now, but it's strict in that you're winning. So, if you're hitting a golf ball, and you're using a driver and you're hitting straight down the fairway, when can you use a 3-wood, or when are you going to, you know, um, be able to close your eyes and hit the ball? No, you always have to concentrate, and you always have to keep your eye on the ball. It's part of playing the game. You always have to be aware of things coming in to trip you up from a plant-based diet. But it's not a penalty. It's just a challenge. Sometimes people play golf, and I was actually one of them that, would get frustrated when the game didn't go quite right. I'd be going along and doing, well, parring holes and maybe getting a birdie, and then I would hit the ball into the woods, and, then I would, kind of get irritated with myself. And the question was, you had to let that shot go, and you had to plan your attack on, okay, how am I going to get myself out of trouble? So the same thing applies with your blood pressure or your glucose number, your cholesterol number. How am I going to get myself out of trouble? I've had patients say, well, I say, why is your glucose so high this evening as opposed to yesterday? Well, I didn't exercise as much, and I was more stressed. Well, stress is not necessarily good, but we all have it. It's never going to go away. And there have been studies that look at stress, and it really it depends on how you look at stress. If people look at stress as a challenge, it doesn't seem to affect them long term. But if they look at stress as being extremely negative and something that you have to always eliminate, then it tends to take its toll on people. But it doesn't really increase your glucose that much. So I said, well, look again. Where's well, I didn't walk that much. It's like, yeah, you didn't walk that much, but we're talking a difference of 1,000 steps different from yesterday and today. So look again. And, after a while, it came up that, there it was, so that there was some, oil in the diet earlier on that threw a wrench into things, or overeating bad things, or maybe sometimes just overeating things that aren't so good can really get in the way. Choices. If you have a choice between, getting your greens in or not, then you have to get the greens in. That's the first rules for my diabetics as well as my people with high cholesterol and coronary artery disease. So did you get those in? Did when we look back at navigating things? So I think that looking at this more along as a challenge to see how well you can do, how nutrient dense you can make your diet, and how it can look good as well is key. We also had someone talk about, well, I'm going to give up and say that I'm just going to eat for my health and forget about eating for pleasure. Well, that's not good either. That's never going to last very long. You might make it a meal or two that way, but that's certainly not going to last very long, because, if you like yourself at all, you're not going to deny yourself, these simple pleasures in life, so to speak. So there's a way to have both. There's a way to have a nutrient-dense, whole food, plant-based diet and make it look good. And, like we talked before, it's kind of all the way you present things. When I was growing up, my mom had to have an operation, so my mother always did all of the cooking, and so I was going to make, and this is terrible, but I was going to make pot pies. I thought that was my way of cooking, and so I dumped this pot pie upside down on a dish for my dad. And he's like, well, that's awful looking. And it's like, but I thought it was going to be awful looking if it was in the pot pie pan. But the reality of it is it was very unappetizing. And so when you serve things that are very unappetizing to look at, it's going to be hard to go ahead and eat them. That was Gretchen. So cut the fruit up, put it in a bowl, look at all the different colors, arrange it nicely, plate things, for your family so that they look appetizing. And then often they smell great, they look great, and people will eat them and like them. So that you don't have to compromise. There's so many different things and so many different ways to make so many thousands of different vegetables that it's just a matter of learning and enjoying the process and playing the game. Play the game until you get it right. With kids, you may need to do taste testing, different kinds of nut milk. Somebody told me today that, the color wasn't right for the kid didn't like the color of the almond milk, but so maybe coconut milk, that's in the container, the lower calorie, might be the way to go. Maybe it's fruit infused water is the way to go. Maybe it's different smoothies with berries is the way to go for drinks. It doesn't have to be milk. There's no rule that says kids have to drink milk in the morning. They could drink, a smoothie if that was it. And you could even sneak some spinach in it, and they wouldn't know. You can experiment with the kids to look at different colors. How can we make this pretty? If you put pineapple in the smoothie, it makes it a very bright green. If you put spinach and blueberries in it, it kind of makes it an army green. So the way you make it, makes it look different. Maybe they don't like the way it looks at all, so just put it in a container that you can't see. But, nevertheless, there's ways to get around it. Banana milk is really, really good. So, doing bananas in water and cinnamon, and, maybe a date would be a great nutritious drink for kids in the morning, and even to put on the oatmeal. So there's lots of ways around it. Be creative, make it a game, make it fun. Create different things, create different recipes. Look at what you've liked in the past and recreate some sort of a version of it, but a healthy version. Because if it was bad for you to start with, chances are the recreated version may be bad as well. That being said, the carrot dog. I know a lot of people that make carrot dogs. Get your red hot carrot dog. It's the toppings that you put on it. So that can be fun. You can marinate the carrot dogs. Everybody can put their own topping on things. So again, make it fun. This is not a chore. This is a game to see how healthy you can eat, how well you can feel, and how pretty and nice that you can present something. Because that goes a long, long way. If you think about it, throwing some fried chicken on a platter that's all greasy and some pretend potatoes that are just, again, oil and salt and ketchup and things. How is that treating your family good? What kind of a game is that? That's just the game of sickness. So, educating your family on this is, a healthy game, or maybe even keep score. How many fruits and vegetables did you have today? How many, let's see how many colors we had. So there's a variety of ways that you can make it positive. It doesn't have to be, negative at all, nor should it be. And it shouldn't just be, I'm giving up. It doesn't take a tremendous amount of effort. It could be, again, all the way back to, greens and a sweet potato and an ear of corn and some beans. That could be the night, or soups, different cold soups, starting to get warm in some places in the world. So you may, want to experiment with some different gazpachos. So that's a good way to go. And Buddha bowls, create your own. Have certain toppings. You have rice, you have beans, and then different toppings, so people can create their own bowl of sorts. Pick their different vegetables. So tonight we did zucchini fries, and I dipped them in a flax egg and put a little panko on, and we put them in the oven and baked them. And we've done the same thing with red pepper rings versus potatoes. So, you can put a little pepper on, you can season them, you can use a little mustard, and it's a great side dish, and there's no oil. I don't like this batch cooking thing. I think cooking in batches is, unless you're somebody that, works 90 hours and has 6 kids, and that's the only way you can put food on the table. The reality it is you should be able to get dinner in 30, 40 minutes, and then somebody in that family needs to help you clean up if there's somebody else there. If not, then you have time on your hands to clean up. But batch cooking just leads to overeating. It often leads to, something you really don't like, but it's easy to make, so you're standing in the kitchen all day, typically on the weekend, so you're there for hours, not happy about it. You're the only one there, cutting, chopping, preparing. So it's nothing you're doing with love. You're just putting the same thing in meal after, in containers. And then people put these things in the freezer and there's no variety. And so when it comes time to pull it out, you've spent so much time and you're so over it by the time you've made all these meals that you don't want anything to do with them. So you don't eat them anyway, so you order out. I had this person that like batch cooked for weeks on end, then she was getting Amy's Pizza. It's like, why are you getting Amy's Pizza if you have all this food in the freezer? So, and that happens more often than not. It's not an isolated event. People are bored with it. You make all this stuff. Who wants to look at 24, whatever? So, that's not good. And, it doesn't seem fresh. It doesn't seem new. And you end up wasting food. So it either sits there till you throw it out, or, you end up thawing it out and then throwing it out. So I just don't think there's any reason to batch cook. I think it's okay if you want to chop up, and I do think it's good that if you have vegetables, especially if you have kids or you have somebody that wants to snack, that you have some vegetables chopped up in the refrigerator. And the idea is if you don't eat those raw vegetables, then you're not hungry. Or you don't eat that fruit, then you're not hungry as far as kids. As far as adults go, I don't think you need to eat between meals. I think you need to let your stomach rest, so eat your fruit after you're finished, and then close the kitchen. Go brush your teeth, close the kitchen. Marketing has got us into the habit of snacking, snack wells, snack packs, snack cookies. It's all, there's nothing good about snacking. There's nothing nutrient driven by snacking, unless you want to snack on maybe, a cup of steamed spinach or steamed kale to get your nitric oxide in. I think that's okay if you want to open the kitchen for that. But otherwise, no. As far as adults go, don't. And if kids don't want something that's healthy for a snack, then they're not hungry either. So I would get your family in eating 3 times a day, then you clean the kitchen and the kitchen is closed. That gives you a break, that to get you out of the kitchen, or whoever the main cook is, you don't have to be standing there 24/7, short order cook, so to speak. I'm thoroughly convinced that you can reverse heart disease, prevent heart disease, reverse diabetes, prevent diabetes with a whole food plant-based diet. No questions. No questions. Adult onset diabetes goes away. You can prevent it. But you can't prevent it by just doing a little bit or changing a little bit. You really have to be committed to eating healthy. And, the more we eat healthy and demand healthy food, the more it'll be available to us. If you're buying a lot of produce, then the produce department of your grocery store is going to improve. If you're continuing to buy snacks, then the snacks are going to improve. If you continue to have them around, then your family's going to continue to want them. But I do think that it's entirely preventable. That being said, it's not easy, and I'm the first one to tell you that it takes a big commitment, and we have dedicated ourselves in our practice to helping people and to supporting people reverse their lifestyle diseases and to prevent lifestyle diseases. And it's very, very rewarding, but it does take time. It takes time on the part of the physician. It takes time on the part of the patient and the family. But working together, it works. And, the nutrition classes have been very rewarding that we do in the office, and being able to speak with people on the phone and help them change their diet and their nutrition has been very, very rewarding. We've made and we've helped people to make great success and great strides in achieving their own health care. I love it when people send us the pictures, the before pictures, and we see the after pictures, or we see people doing things, activities with their family, or trying, new things because they feel good. I think it's great. We have a private Facebook group in the practice that people post. We have a step challenge now. We have an activities challenge, and it's great to see what people are doing, and they help and support and motivate each other. And I think that's really important as far as making the achievements. So, we are there for our patients and our members. when they're willing to change, because we can get these medications off people so quickly, that if you had to wait 3 months or 6 months to see your doctor, or let alone see an allied health professional that was afraid to take you off your medications, it could be a disaster. But we're willing to put the time in to get people off their medications, and then the next step is to transition people into how do they stay off their medications, how do they prevent other diseases from happening, how do they maintain their weight, how do they improve their functional capacity, their muscle mass, their flexibility. And so we continue to go on with them in our practice, and it's been a great a great way to practice medicine. And I couldn't be more proud than to have Addie, my daughter, working as a registered dietitian nutritionist with me to help figure out. And I'm proud to say that now we have two late 80-year-old, well, actually a late 80 and a 90-year-old person in the practice that actually have improved their diabetes within a short period of time. Not diabetes, I'm sorry, their kidney function in a short period of time, just becoming plant-based, and improved their hemoglobin, just becoming plant-based, and got rid of the protein in their urine. So we're very excited. We're probably going to write these up that plant-based nutrition works at any age, whether you're a kid or you're middle-aged or you're 90. It can improve your health and well-being, get people off of medications at any age. So don't ever think that it's too late or you're too old to change, because you're not. And you deserve to be healthy until you leave this world. One thing that comes up sometimes is people say, well, I miss the crunch. I wish I had something crunchy. And in some respects, I understand that the texture of things, something to use a knife on, that you actually have to, saw, you kind of miss that, or something that requires excessive chewing. But most of the time, people are really missing something that is greasy or salty when they talk about this fried or this crunchy thing. It's something that crunches, usually has oil and salt in it, because vegetables crunch, and vegetables, you can dehydrate and do some things to fruit that makes them very chewy, or you can make dishes that are very chewy, vegetable-wise, and it doesn't do the same thing because it's missing the oil and the salt. So I think when people talk about that, to some extent, I used to try to come up with things, and now, I've come to the conclusion, it's like, you just have to change what you like. If you like to chew, then, choose things that are very fibrous. I typically have a big salad at lunchtime that has cabbage and spinach or kale and peppers and cucumbers and carrots. May have some beans and rice. I have fruit. So it's things that I have to chew. It requires, you just can't swallow them whole. It requires effort that you have to pay attention and chew. Is it crunching like a cracker? No. But it definitely requires, chewing and cutting. So it's all in, what you get used to in your taste buds. The greens part is, very satisfying to me. I don't need the fat in the oil at this point, in the salt. So I don't think that crunchy, when if you're having that I miss the crunch sensation, then look at it, what exactly it is. It's really probably the fried and the salt. And so neither of those are scoring you any points in the game of being healthy. So let them go and move on to something else. It's also summertime, or I guess springtime, coming into summertime, so seasonal fruits are in. So I encourage you to look into what's coming your way. Down here in Florida, it's starting to be blueberry season, so when I come back from Mendocino, we'll be going blueberry picking. Watermelons are starting to come in. I just had one that was great. If a watermelon is starting to go bad, or you're getting ahead of you, blending watermelons for hydration after running is a great drink. Watermelon gazpacho with some tomato and hot cayenne and maybe some pepper is a good alternative. But there's lots of different ways to get a different fruit. Sapodilla, which a sugar apple is a fruit that's coming into seasons from South America, and it's like a pear with brown sugar on it. It's so sweet. And so that's in Mame sapotas. It's a South American fruit that tastes a little bit like a sweet potato, a little bit like a peach. It's orange inside. It's unique. So try some different fruits or different tropical fruits if you can find them in your local market. But again, how you present them, what fruits are coming up north. It's going to be strawberry season just about everywhere. Organic strawberries are so much better than, the non-organic, chemicalized strawberries. So try them. Try some strawberry plants out in your backyard. That works as well. You can plant watermelon. It grows just about everywhere in the summertime. So plant some seeds right now. And it makes it great if you harvest your own. So I encourage you to do that. In our backyard, we have some mangoes hanging on, little avocados hanging on. We have our first bunch of bananas hanging on our trees. So it's all very exciting. We have a lot of tomatoes growing, both in the tower garden and the raised beds. Eggplant blooming, peppers blooming. We have jalapeno peppers, different kinds of hot peppers, hot bell peppers. Have some fennel growing. Sweet potatoes grow down here all year round. So that's growing. So exciting time of the year here in Florida. Once it starts to get hot, it's hard to grow many vegetables. So this is our really prime growing season. But as it gets hot, that's when our tropical fruits start to come around. So mango season comes in next. So there's all different kinds of varieties, and they come in different types of mangoes come in at different times of the early summer. So that's real exciting. So, try a different fruit out each week. Try a different vegetable out each week, but don't make it too complicated, and see how things go. Maybe even do a raw day. That's a good challenge, or a fruit till noon day. That's even a good challenge because it's not going to hurt your diabetes. It's only going to make you healthier. It's a good way to get your antioxidants in. I find that after a training run or ride, fruit is a really good thing to hydrate with. So give it a try this summer. So I'm going to cut it off. If you have any interest in getting in touch with us, we'd love to hear from you, answer any of your questions. I'm at Jami at drdulaney.com. It's Jami at drdulaney.com. Check out our website at drdulaney.com, DoctorDulaney. I'm on Instagram at jmullendelaney, and on Facebook as well. If you join our practice, we have a private Facebook page. We also have a newsletter for anybody can join, and we'll give you recipes every month, and send out some tidbits and some health. Do a blog post about once a week or so. So check that out on the website, tips and tricks. I'd also like to give a shout out to Addie, who was featured on the online Voyage Atlanta magazine, and it's voyageatl.com, and you can find out about naturally rooted nutrition in the greater Atlantic area. Addie does private consulting as well as works for me, so if you'd like to get your wellness on, then check her out. You can also follow her on Instagram, Naturally Rooted Nutrition, so you can see what she's cooking up and what I'm cooking up, and it should be a great time. I look forward to giving you your race report. I hope things go well. Stay well, be well, and I hope the game of whole food, plant-based nutrition, I hope you score big this week. Take care.